A reading from Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 15 through 20. The Lord your God will raise up from you a prophet, like me, from among your own people. You shall heed such a prophet. This is what you requested of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly, when you said, If I hear the voice of the Lord my God any more, or ever again see the great fire, I will die. Then the Lord replied to me, They are right in what they have said. I will raise up a prophet, like you, from among their own people. I will put my words in the mouth of the prophet, who shall speak to them everything that I command. Anyone who does not heed the words the prophet shall speak in my name, I myself will hold accountable. But any prophet who speaks in the name of other gods, or who presumes to speak in my name a word that I have not commanded the prophet to speak, that prophet shall die. Sophocles' Oedipus Rex contains a deep reflection on the nature of prophets and prophecy. A blood plague has beset Thebes, and the king, Oedipus, and the rest of the populace desperately want to know how to stop the devastation. A cryptic report comes in from the Delphic oracle that the murderer of the old king now causes the current illness. Then, the blind prophet Tiresias arrives, and Oedipus immediately seeks his help. Tiresias does know the truth, both of the matter and the struggle of prophets. As Tiresias says in lines 429 through 433, wisdom is a curse when wisdom does nothing for the man who has it. Once I knew this well, but I forgot I never should have come. He bears the curse of knowing who killed the old king, and that this wisdom will not help him. Oedipus keeps pushing. Tiresias keeps deflecting, until finally Oedipus shifts to a personal attack on the prophet's integrity. Tiresias delivers the truth to a predictable result. Tiresias, it's you. What plagues the city is you. The plague is you. Oedipus, do you know what you are saying? Do you think I will let you get away with these vile accusations? Tiresias, I am safe. The truth lives in me, and the truth is strong. Oedipus, who taught you this truth of yours, not your prophet's craft? From lines 479 through 487 of Sophocles' Oedipus Rex. It's literally a tale as old as time. Spoilers for a 2,500-year-old play. Tiresias knows that Oedipus, without knowing it, killed his father, the old king, and married his mother, the current queen. Oedipus was sent away from his family because of a prophecy when he was a baby. He had no idea that the rulers of Thebes were his parents, or that the man he killed on the roadside was his father. Eventually, the full truth comes out, and Oedipus suffers for rejecting the words of Tiresias. Still, the prophet delivers the divine truth placed within him, only to have those words rejected and his character questioned. In a similar vein, the Old Testament contains a vast graveyard of ignored prophecy. For every Nineveh repenting at Jonah's words and David falling before the prophet Nathan after the Bathsheba liaison, we hear volumes from Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and others telling God's people how to avoid an exile. The nation failed to heed their warnings, and away to exile they went. Hosea spends his entire prophetic career telling the northern kingdom to turn from their growing heresy, which they promptly ignore, despite the fact that the role of prophet means serving as a conduit for God's truth. The bulk of our collected prophetic witness falls on deaf ears. The curse of wisdom remains consistent. The New Testament adds its own spin on the suffering of prophets. John the Baptist gets his head put on a platter. Jesus goes to the cross, in part because a certain subset of folks didn't like the divine truth that he had to say. Stephen gets stoned to death immediately after he takes on a prophetic role. And in Revelation 10, John has to confirm his new role of prophet by eating a scroll. As it says in Revelation chapter 10, verses 9 through 11. So I went to the angel and told him to give me the little scroll. And he said, "Take it and eat it. It will be bitter to your stomach, but sweet as honey in your mouth." So I took the little scroll from the hand of the angel and ate it. It was sweet as honey in my mouth, but when I had eaten it, my stomach was made bitter. They said to me, "You must prophesy again about many peoples and nations and languages and kings." The sweetness derives from delivering the word of God, but it comes with a discomforting bitterness of often getting unreceived. John immediately relates a vision of that bitterness in the next chapter. Two prophets warn the people of their coming doom for 1260 days. For their service, the beast comes up from the depths and kills them, and the people celebrate this move. As it says in verses 9 and 10 of that chapter, for 3.5 days, members of the people and tribes and languages and nations will gaze at their dead bodies and refuse to let them be placed in the tomb, and the inhabitants of the earth will gloat over them and celebrate and exchange presents because these two prophets had been a torment to the inhabitants of the earth. God rewards their faithfulness by raising them from the dead and welcoming them into heaven. But the people that they gave their lives to save suffer the exact fate that these prophets sought so diligently to help them avoid. Across time and cultures, the pattern begins to feel like destiny. The prophet speaks divine truth. We ignore it and potentially harm the prophet for their attempt to help. It seems like more often than not, we fail to heed God's instruction in Deuteronomy 18 to heed. God warns us that this failure will come with consequences. We continue on our generations-long project of ignoring God's words prophetically delivered. These may be words spoken by a human, but the concept of prophecy is that God puts these words into the mouth of said human. Prophets get ignored because often they deliver the messages from God that we don't like to hear. We like our words of comfort and grace from God. Sometimes, like the return from exile passages in the 3rd section of Isaiah, or the Valley of the Dry Bones in Ezekiel, prophets get the nice job that people love. You get to go home. God can bring life into the direst of circumstances. However, following in the tradition of Moses, catching the people worshiping a calf and delivering the law, prophets spend a good chunk of their time on the accountability and uncomfortable truth end of divine communications. We tend to detest and avoid anything that sounds like a bummer or getting called out. Thus, we inflict the curse of wisdom on the prophet and ignore the knocking of the divine. Given that Sophocles wrote 2 millennia ago and still remains on many high school and college curriculums, one might think that we would learn. Deuteronomy 18 is even older and contained in arguably the best-selling book of all time. You can even steal it from most hotel rooms. Still, we don't learn. We don't heed. We keep face-planting into the consequences. We should try breaking the curse and see what it's like on the other side.